This is my house.
Hello there, back again with Doctor Who. It's the Christmas special, so let's jump right in. On my mistake, I appear to have put on an episode of Queer as Folk by accident. That isn't so bad. At least maybe Littlefinger from Game of Thrones may turn up. What? He isn't going to turn up. It isn't Queer as Folk. Let me just check. No, this is supposedly Doctor Who, and this is supposedly the Christmas special.
It's too gay for me. Thought I could handle it, but I can't.
It'll be the interval soon.
Well, I'm captivated, Roy.
Calm down, at least it can't get any worse.
I've been watching interviews with Russell T Davies, the showrunner of Doctor Who, to try and get a better grounding for these videos, and it seems that when he was younger, he worked in a market selling fruit in Wales, so his formative years were spent purveying fruitiness to the general public, and in some ways it's like he never left. I tried watching this with some other people, and after 15 minutes or so, one of them excused themselves because they found it preferable to go and wash some dirty dishes instead, and the viewing figures are not looking good again, with overnight figures being reported in the UK of 4.7 million viewers. This was a show that during David Tennant's first run was getting over 13 million viewers for Christmas specials. And why is Doctor Who like this now? For me, the show was probably at its best when it delved into horror. It was always supposed to be family entertainment, so it mixed a lot of genres, but when I think back to the most memorable episodes, it was mostly the horror. So episodes like The Impossible Planet or Waters of Mars, which people on IMDb gave an 8.8 out of 10, and steady on. It wasn't bad, but that's nearly the same rating as Lord of the Rings The Two Towers, and The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, or the episode Blink of Doctor Who that introduced the Weeping Angels. On IMDb, that's 9.8 out of 10. That would make it better than any film on IMDb's top 100. Better than Gladiator, better than Alien, better than The Godfather. The Godfather's only on 9.2. Empire Strikes Back is 8.7. Why is Doctor Who like this now? And it's this to the extent that this made it into the trailer for this episode. The episode starts out with a woman at Christmas abandoning a baby on the steps of a church in the snow at midnight. That baby's going to be lucky to survive for very long. What are the chances of the priest coming out and checking that doorstep for babies at midnight on Christmas Eve? I've got nothing. Maybe it's a midnight mass. That's the best suggestion I've heard so far. It would explain why the priest is in his robes at midnight. But the mass starts at midnight and tends to last around an hour and a half. And this is the origin of Ruby Sunday, the Doctor's new companion. And that's a very weird name. I'm getting River Song vibes about this already. And I'm already suspecting some lame wordplay with her name is incoming. Well, never mind. What do we get instead of Littlefinger? Well, we get all of the producers back who Christopher Eccleston once fired, if he's ever going to come back as Doctor Who.
You'd all love to see Christopher come back as the Doctor, right? See? Now, what would have to happen for that to become a reality?
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back.
All of those producers who presided over this supposedly happening on their sets.
And Russell was there as well, they kind of came over. So.
And Barrowman's there taking his dick out every 5 seconds. Like, you know, every 5 seconds, just hitting it on everything like that. You can't help but laugh. Like, Chris will be like, serious, I'm concentrating on my acting.
All the time.
All the time. Do you remember the time you put it on your shoulder in the makeup truck?
Yes, I do. In my... Yeah.
This stuff that John Barrowman describes as horseplay, because I'm not sure horseplay is how I would describe this stuff. And is any of this okay? Barrowman is quoted as saying that he found Eccleston attractive, and in a work context, he's rubbing his penis on another man he works with. Is it okay if as a gay man he does that to a woman? Why? Because he's not attracted to women? How about if he's doing it to a man that he's attracted to? Discuss. And from stories in the media, it seems it may not have just been John Barrowman. The person telling that story was the actor Noel, Clarke, who played Mickey Smith on the show. And this is from a Guardian story. A Doctor Who actor who was asked to remain anonymous has told The Guardian she was also sexually harassed by Clarke in the early seasons of the show. He made advances on me, she said, regularly asking me if I wanted a piece of his dark chocolate. When she rejected his advances, the actor said, Clarke badmouthed her to people in the industry. In the same story, a claim's made by a woman called Jenna. Jenna said she frequently witnessed Barrowman exposing himself on set. He would get his genitals out on a regular basis. He'd just sort of have his balls hanging out of his trousers or something, which he just thought was really funny, she said. On one occasion, Jenna said that she witnessed Barrowman slapping his penis on the windscreen of one of the driver's cars, thinking it was really funny. And who does he think he is? Prince Harry?
We'll just see how he deals with my blue penis. Hey, have some respect for people's privacy.
And who does that? Just going up and rubbing your Johnson on the front windscreen of a car? And I'm inclined to believe the John Barrowman stuff. He's been pretty open about it, and he's done similar things in public settings. Noel Clarke, however, is denying it. But all in all, he's facing accusations from some 20 separate women. In the story, another woman, a costume assistant on Doctor Who, claims Clarke told this long-haired woman that he liked girls with long hair as it gave him something to hold on to when doing them from behind. The same Jenna claims she used to be Clarke's driver and that he would grope her as she was driving him, made comments of a lewd nature to her and repeatedly asked her to go to his hotel room with him. And when she complained to an assistant director of his behaviour, she got reassigned. Then he allegedly bullied her on set as retribution. Maybe he's innocent of all of these things that the 20 separate women are accusing him of, but was there no investigation into his conduct? Christopher Eccleston, who called out the bullying and harassment he saw on the set, left the show. The people who supposedly did these things stayed. The people who presided over it stayed and just got welcomed back. The whistleblowers are the ones who got punished. So what is this episode about? And what are those things?
A dwarf.
And no, Michelle Yeoh, I'm pretty sure that wasn't a dwarf. It was green. So what are we dealing with? Well, in this episode, Doctor Who is going to have to fight off the attentions of the Goblins.
The Goblins?
Yes, the Goblins. What could be more Christmassy than Goblins? So now we have a grown-up Ruby the baby talking to UK TV presenter Davina McCall.
I bet it was a goblin in disguise.
No, not on this occasion. I think she's just from Manchester. And the Goblins are trying to make Ruby have accidents. She's had a string of goblin-induced bad luck for the last several months. The accidents, we are told, are part of the Goblins weaving their magic. That they rely on accidents, but nothing they cause are accidents. Because they cause them. And Ruby is there because she wants to find her birth mother, and Davina McCall's going to try and help her with that. And how does nobody see that goblin? It's right there in plain sight. Has that woman got no peripheral vision whatsoever? Or are the goblins just supposed to be invisible or something? And no, they're not, because Ruby catches them stealing a baby later, and she can see them just fine. How can the goblin ship just go through British airspace unseen? And what, right over London? No one's going to notice a flying ship filled with goblin pirates flying over London. And the goblins are doing all this because they operate on magic. Why have we now got magic and goblins in Doctor Who? I don't know. I don't know why we've got a flamboyant man twirling in a kilt and a wife beater either. Ask Russell T Davies. Doctor Who is just magic now. At one point, the goblins try to make Ruby drop her drink in a club, and the Doctor teleports off of the dance floor to go and save her gin and tonic. So when Russell T Davies says things like, it's a very imaginative act to watch Doctor Who, and I think gay people are better and cleverer and more imaginative than anyone else. Firstly, he seems to have a very weird supremacist outlook for his community. Secondly, yeah, not so much. If you're anything to go by, you could have made the Christmas special about anything at all, and you make it a musical about goblins, in which the Goblin King steals a baby. Mate, that's the plot to the 1986 film Labyrinth, and I'd not really describe it as creative to completely break the law of the series. So in 4 episodes now from Russell T Davies, we've had an episode with a plot taken from a 1980s comic, the second one seemingly had a plot taken from Event Horizon, the third a plot taken from another episode of Doctor Who, and the fourth a plot taken from the 1986 film Labyrinth. The Goblins steal a baby from Ruby's stepmother, and when she chases, she ends up on a rope ladder hanging below a floating goblin pirate ship over the streets of London. And this is all more fantasy than sci-fi, really. The new Doctor turns up running across rooftops and jumps onto the rope ladder as well, which probably would have sent Ruby flying off of it and down onto the streets. But luckily, he has some magic anti-gravity or anti-mavity gloves, and heaven help you if you get that callback, and when they climb the ladder, they immediately get captured by the goblins and tied up. The Doctor gets out of his ropes because, quote, he once spent a long hot summer with Harry Houdini. So add him to the list, I guess, next to Isaac Newton. I'll be looking for him to turn up in the upcoming series, presumably cast as a boisterous and bi-curious Pakistani. Russell T Davies is quoted as saying that he's been unimpressed by the new crop of TV writers, who he says are more interested in diversity than writing great series.
Somebody please get this man
a mirror. What else am I supposed to call it? When you keep on throwing in diverse actors who barely even get storylines. Did this person even get a name in the show? But the Doctor can't get them past the door of their cell because his sonic screwdriver, he says, needs screws. It needs what now? The Doctor used it to remove mortar from bricks and go through a wall 3 episodes ago. Do you remember that, Russell T Davies? That episode aired less than a month ago. It was called The Star Beast. You wrote it. Well, kind of. You stole the story from a comic book from the 80s, but you wrote that part. But they get out of the cell when the Doctor unties one of the Goblins' special magic rope knots, and they find out that the Goblins are going to eat the baby that they took by listening to a full musical Goblin dance number. The Doctor and Ruby even join in with the song as we get another original creation from Russell T Davies in the shape of the Goblin King. Overly large, bulbous and sinister, Russell T Davies started working on Doctor Who in 2005.
I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
The Goblin King in this is not exactly a match for David Bowie in his tights in Labyrinth, and then they escape with the baby because, I've no idea. While they're singing, a master knot comes undone above them and lowers a rope down for them through the floor to climb down and escape. It just seems to undo on its own. And are they missing scenes out again? Was there supposed to be a scene of the Doctor undoing the master knot with his sonic screwdriver before the makers realised that they already said it only works on screws and not on ropes in this episode? Is that what happened? Did they, with no little irony, manage to tie themselves in knots writing this? And it all seems fine until the Doctor notices that Ruby is now missing, and worse, her adopted family has never even heard of her. He realises that the Goblins must have gone back in time to take Ruby from off of the church step where she was abandoned, so he uses his time machine to go back to the same day, and by the time he gets there, the Goblins have already taken baby Ruby. And how? How can you have a time machine and still be late? And how did the Doctor know this was where baby Rose was even abducted from again? She could have been abducted from any point before this. He just guesses and guesses correctly. As the Goblins are escaping, the Doctor then uses his magic gloves to grab hold of the Goblin's rope ladder and pull the Goblin ship down, and it appears that flimsy rope ladder has enough tensile strength to hold the Goblin ship down and impale it and the Goblin King inside it onto the church spire, causing the Goblin ship to evaporate, leaving a baby now falling several hundred feet that luckily the Doctor was in just the right position to catch. And none of this works again. It's a time paradox. Why did the Doctor not forget Ruby when everyone else did in the story? In a linear time system, the moment he saves the baby, he's removed the reason in the future that made him come back to save the baby. The writing on this show is not good at all. So do I even want to hear the explanation from Russell T Davies? Because I get the sinking feeling that the explanation is going to involve the phrase wibbly wobbly timey wimey, meaning he's got absolutely no idea what he's talking about.
I can't block out, please lock out images of Johnny B getting his out. I can't do it. I can't do it tonight.
Fuck. Jesus.
another man's rhubarb.